Welcome to LSC, it's sports time. I'm your host, Bob Hens. Today I have with me Tony Rutland, former Bethel High School basketball player and also played basketball down at Wake Forest. Welcome, Tony.
Thank you. It's nice
Glad
to
to have you up here from Atlanta get you up here. But you started playing ball just like all the other kids. You started playing just about everything.
I did. I started off playing soccer when I was overseas at a young age. My dad was in the military, moved here. And then, picked up baseball and football. And, growing up, everybody thought I was going to be a football player, playing quarterback and receiver. But I enjoyed playing it.
Okay. Now, where did you play football when you were young?
Like I said, my dad was in the military.
Right.
So the military, Langley Air Force Base had rec league. And, I grew up with a lot of people, military families and their kids. And, just played every sport with them.
Your dad helped coach you then as a youngster?
He did. Him and Mr. Chenault, James Chenault, he was actually one of my coaches when my dad would coach the men's football team at the Langley Air Force Base. So I pretty much grew up with him, and I call him my uncle, and he taught me everything as far as football is concerned.
Okay, now your dad being in the military, very disciplined, and that works with sports. So did you get that from your dad as far as the discipline? Was he that kind of a person at home?
It was, it was great, growing up with, my dad. He was always hard on me.
All dads are hard on me.
Yeah, definitely. But, he actually made me play positions that I didn't want to because, he knew that it would better myself, and I was pretty much one of the best players as far as in that position. So I was like voluntold to play quarterback. But, I was good at it, and, he helped me along. And, and like I said, when Mr. Chenault took over from there, he just kind of pushed me, and I was able to be a leader out there.
Okay. Then you decided somewhere along the line you got into basketball, which was one of the last things that you really took up.
Yeah, my dad actually, it was in the paper, and Boo Williams had just started AAU program, and I think it was 10 or around either 10 or 13, and he saw it in the paper, said they had tryouts at Davis Middle School, and he brought me up there, and that's where it started at.
Threw you in the Lions Den,
that's how it is, and that's how I started. Yep.
But you had one gentleman that we've had in here, Pete Baycoat, that worked with you on your shooting.
Yes, my dad and Mr. Baycoat grew up in Philadelphia, and so they knew each other. And when he was stationed down here, we actually met up at Langley Air Force Base, where at the gym there where we all worked out at.
Right.
And, I was introduced to Mr. Baycoat, and from that point on, he's the one that taught me all the fundamentals when it comes to shooting and just ball handling. And, he actually made me the player that I am today by just instilling the work ethic that I have. 5 o'clock in the morning workouts before school. I was with Mr. Baycoat, and all of us worked out, every day.
Well, and you got to know his son pretty good, Damon, who was a year older than you.
Yeah.
Pretty good basketball player at his older age.
Yeah, definitely. Just growing up, they were taller than me. I saw the competitiveness that they had as far as him and his brothers. And, that's what I wanted as well. So, I jumped in there, and I was able to get into that competitive state. And, we became best friends. Every summer we would work out. I mean, I was constantly over there. So, in a way, I went to Bethel, but, all my friends were pretty much from Hampton.
Well, I was going to say, because Baycoat went to Hampton, so I was going to say, when you played Hampton, it was like, oh my God, I'm going against all my buddies.
Yeah, it was true. Me and Damon became real great friends, and like I said, majority of my friends went to Hampton, so it was like I went to Hampton without going to Hampton.
Right. All right, then you go over to Bethel. Here's a sophomore. I go over and I'm doing a program with meeting the basketball team at Bethel High School, Coach Bailey. Mm-hmm. And he's talking about him, and we get him on camera, and he saves you and Allen Iverson for last. And I'm thinking, well, why is he saving these two sophomores to last? He says, these two guys are going to be special. Because he saw it then, that the ability that you two guys had, and the not only the potential, I think, is what really he could see.
Well, yeah, before then, we actually, when Allen moved into the Hampton zone, we actually went to Davis Middle School together.
Right.
And Coach Bailey, we were in the 8th grade, and he had a meeting with both of us, and he told us, hey, if 8th graders could play varsity, you definitely would be on the team. But, take it day by day, concentrate on your schoolwork, work hard. When you get in the 9th grade, not guaranteeing you'll be on the varsity, but when you get in 9th grade, you have a possibility of being on a varsity team. From that point on, we took it in a stride, and, we played together ever since. And we worked hard at it, and, we had a good career and played varsity 9th grade, and 10th grade we had, we did well and moved on.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the other sports, because you decided, okay, this is it. That was you. How did you make that decision? Because you were good in football. I mean, it wasn't that you were just a guy to stand on the sideline.
Yeah, I actually was playing JV football for Bethel my 10th grade year, played quarterback, probably was going to start. Had a practice, threw the football. A guy tried to block my pass, hit my thumb, broke my thumb. From that point on, I was like, no more sports. And and in a way, I thought my dad, he wanted me to play football. He was happy for me to play football. But from that point on, he actually told me, hey, is that you're at the point now where you need to concentrate and work hard at one of your sports, so you can still either play football or basketball. So, I chose basketball. I felt like that was one of the sports that I can excel in.
Did you do camps at all during the summer for basketball?
I did. I went to 5-star camp every summer. I went to Holmesdale and Radford, and that's where I actually met a lot of the national players that were getting recognized, and they were ranked, and me myself, I was just somebody who, was from Hampton and that could play, but, never got the recognition that I was getting.
Right. When did you decide that I can shoot the ball? Did it just come to you? Or, I mean, it's something, I know you have to work at it. You work at everything that you get done.
I think it was just like in the 7th grade when Mr. Bacoat came and he taught me, he adjusted my shots and just taught me the fundamentals of the technique of shooting. And from 7th and 8th grade, when I played in the 7th grade in rec league, my game has just excelled as far as my shooting. My dad just taught me dip your shoulder, dip your head, and go to the hole, up until then. And, he refined my skills as far as the shooting and taught me a lot of stuff.
And your ball handling, that is something that you just work on by yourself for the most part all the time?
Yeah, pretty.
Did you pick up some drills in all the camps?
Yeah, I picked up drills, but ball handling is no excuse for anyone not to develop a ball handling skills. I mean, if you're around the house, just dribbling and getting familiarized with the ball is what is basically important for. So anybody can have great ball handling skills. And I just, I never stayed in the house. I was always out. If the sun was out, or if it was cloudy, if it was rainy, I was always outside and I had a ball in my hand.
Right. Now we're going to go over to your junior year. Now, Allen on the football team wins the state championship on a Friday. Mm-hmm. Tuesday night, I go to the basketball game at Kickotan, and you bringing the ball down the court, and you threw an alley-oop to Allen just like you guys never walked off the court. I've never seen a player go from football to basketball without some sort of a transition. He had none.
No, he didn't. And, we had that, we played together since we were 13.
Right.
And we were always competitive when it came to practicing into ourselves. So, of course, we would have practice and he's still playing football, but, he's in the gym with us, and that's just the type of person he was. He never could sit still, and, he's always in there, and, Allen, he's talking and having a good time. Right. So, our first game, I mean, it was like he's always been in practice, and we continued to do it, and we had fun.
I saw that thing and I said, oh my golly, you guys had just like I had Mr. B. Well, now that was a great year for you. You lost one game to Hampton, mm-hmm. and then you guys play in the Coliseum, and this place is packed. We're taping that game, mm-hmm. and I've never seen so many people in the Coliseum to watch a basketball game. And you played against your friend, Big Coach.
It was amazing. Up until junior year, we always had great expectations of what we were going to do. Coming into junior year, of course, I broke my leg and had surgery, right. And was a rod was put in my knee at that time. So up until junior year, we had great expectations, playing well. The first time we played Hampton, I believe it was at Hampton High.
Yeah, it was at Hampton High.
We lost to them, and then The next one, anticipation of the game, instead of playing at Bethel, actually was moved to Hampton University, and from what I heard, they was turning people way off the highway at that game.
Yeah.
So, just for us to take that bus ride to Hampton Coliseum and see the parking lot full, it was just prepare me for college, actually, because it was just amazing,
right.
and I had a great time.
Well, and then you guys end up winning the district.
Mm-hmm.
And talk a little bit about that transition, because that's the first step.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get to that step. Now, when I interviewed Alan at the end of the football game, the state championship, I said, "What's next?" He said, "We're going to win the state basketball championship." He just,
Yeah.
that's bravado.
Right.
Right. Your kid's going to say that, but
Yeah.
you guys did it.
Yeah, it was like I said, we worked hard, and I think the great thing that Alan and I had was we pushed ourselves. We never settled. We always wanted to go against each other and practice, and that was the only way we were going to get ourselves better. But at the same time, we took that over into games when we played other schools. We just stayed focused, be competitive, and we took amongst ourselves to try to just win the best we could. And a lot of people thought we couldn't play D at the same time, but
right.
We held a lot of good teams to to good low scoring games.
Right. Now, you're going into the playoffs, you're playing Woodbridge. And if I remember, you were in foul trouble,
Yep.
and you guys were down. I mean, you're looking like, okay, the season's over.
Yeah, actually.
But it didn't.
Yeah, I think, because I think I picked up 2 fouls in the first quarter, if I'm not.
Quarter.
And,
Yeah.
Allen was out there by himself, and they were able to double team him, and, he didn't really have as much help as he normally would have. But, the thing that we never gave up, we were in the locker room and we said we was going to turn it around. And, unfortunately, we turned it around and made a good game out of it. And if I'm not mistaken, we fouled one of the guys and he cramped up and they brought somebody else in off the
Right.
bench and he was cold and missed free throws. And from that point on, the rest is history.
Right. But I think if I'm trying to remember the semifinal game,
Mm-hmm.
and you're behind, and Allen comes across half court, throws up a three, and goes in. I'm thinking, my God! I mean, he just got you back in it just like that.
Yeah, like I said,
you guys really fed off each other, didn't you?
Yeah, we never gave up, and I think our other players like Aries Early, Kelly, Dante Travis, all those guys, we fed off one another, and we never gave up. We played hard. And when one person would do well, we all fed on it. And,
right.
We knew our roles, and everybody had their own roles.
And see, that's the key. A lot of people don't understand. Now, Hampton won the state championship this last year
Mm-hmm.
because every one of the 5 guys had a specific role, and they played it.
Right.
They didn't try to get outside their comfort zone.
Right.
You guys were a little bit like that. I remember in one game was it early, left-handed. He made a couple of.
Right. Oh, that was Lovett.
Gave him. Yeah.
That was in overtime.
Yeah.
So he was.
And all of a sudden, he's out of nowhere, he's making 2 or 3 shots.
Yeah. And that's how it was. I mean, anybody could, anything that we got from anybody on our team was special, and it helped us out. Everybody thought it was just Allen and I, but other guys, they had a key role in everything. If it was defense or stopping one of their best players and rebounding and stuff. I mean, let's face it, Kelly was our best big guy, and he was only like 6'3".
I know it, but you guys just fundamental.
Yeah.
I think, and Coach Bailey stressed fundamentals.
They did.
And that's part of what you're doing. But I'm going to jump to your senior year.
Mm-hmm.
Here you are, you're playing without Allen. Mm-hmm. You are the go-to man.
Right.
And you're having a decent year, but it's not going to be a championship year. And then you go into the district tournament, and you go up to Fort Eustis, and you're playing Denby. And I'm sitting in the stands, and I have never seen any shooting exhibition that you put on. You end up with 40-some points, and you had to have 30-some in the first half. I don't know how many threes you hit. But my brother's arm was sore because I kept punching him every time. I said, "Did you see that?"
Yeah, the night before, for some reason, I just took the basketball and I was laying in my bed and I just kept shooting it in the air and just kept shooting in the air. And that next day, it was an early game.
Yeah.
So we went to go play. I never thought that I was going to have the game that I had, but I knew that Coach Katufis actually always had a game plan when it came to me.
Right.
So he. When the jump ball, he was always sending somebody from the bench. He was keeping a fresh guy on me.
He
had a fresh guy on me every time. But after I hit my first one and second one, and
third one,
the goal just kept getting bigger and bigger, and I believe I had like 41 in the first half, and it was just like I didn't know I had that many points. But
it was just like they gave you a step, and that's all you needed to launch the ball.
Yeah, I mean, I was in that zone, and I remember one time I stole the ball and I went to shoot, and the defender came up, and I actually shot it off the backboard, got my own rebound, laid it up, actually. So, I mean, just something like that was just, it was a great game.
The stars were aligned.
Yeah,
right.
it was just a great game. But, unfortunately, that was last. I went out with a bang.
Boy, you did that.
It was my last game, so I don't turn nothing away.
All right. Now you graduate and you're recruited, and you, not just Wake Forest is where you end up, but where were some of the other schools that were recruiting you?
UVA was one of the teams that I really wanted to go to, universities I wanted to go to. Alabama, it was Auburn, Coach Cady when he was at, I believe, Vanderbilt, excuse me,
right.
Tennessee. So I had a lot of SECs, ACC schools, NC State as well. But really what brought me to pick Wake Forest was close enough to home where
right.
I can stay, I could come back home, but it was in a good conference as well.
Right, ACC,
great it was great, growing up here and, watching UVA play.
Well, was Childress already down there? Randolph Childress was there?
He was there already. Rodney Rogers was there, but, they Rodney Rogers graduated when I, coming to my freshman year, he
right.
had left already. But, I really wanted to go to UVA. They had one scholarship left, and actually Curtis Staples actually signed, and so he went there, and I just went with the best thing.
Well, your coach Odom, great coach, and then the coach you got to play with Tim Duncan, who was, I don't know how many rings he's got in the NBA, but that had to be quite an experience, just not only playing at the college level, but playing with kids because you're talking great kids in high school, and you get to the college and you're talking better, or almost all good kids.
Well, it was a great thing. Going to Wake Forest, I was able to meet numerous alumni who played at Wake Forest. They come back. It was a close family. Muggsy Bogues would come in, and
right.
A great NBA legend who would come in and teach us things. Those are the type of things that you learn, and it betters your skills as far as your career is concerned. But then to work out with Randolph Childress and compete with him and practice, and work with Tim Duncan, who makes the game so much easier for you, and vice versa. But the skill set was excellent, and picking Wake Forest was a great thing.
Right, had 4 great years.
Yes, it did.
And graduated, got your degree in
sociology.
Sociology.
Yep.
But you didn't give up basketball. You said, I'm still young. I can still shoot the ball. I can still dribble. I can still go. You went over to the far east some, and then to Europe.
Yeah.
What are some of the places you played?
I played in Korea, played in Austria, played in Cyprus, Venezuela. I actually played in Lebanon, Syria. Went to Dubai. So I can go everywhere.
Wow.
It goes on, but basketball is a universal language, and
right.
everybody knows how to play basketball. It's just different styles, but you just have to adjust.
All right, now we talk a little bit about the skill level, because over there it's a little different than here. If you're a big kid, they're going to teach you post play here in the United States. They don't do that over in Europe in the Far East.
No, I think when the NBA started going to a lot of European players, a lot of people were saying, well, why are they going to European players where we have a lot of talent here? Well, over there they do have academies. They have academies where you grow up and you go to a basketball academy. So
your school is a basketball academy.
Their school is just straight basketball. You go to school and you practice, and you go to school and you practice some more, and you're taught every skill level from post play to guard play, and
regardless of your size.
Regardless of your size, and I think that's one of the reasons why Dirk Nowitzki, he grew up and had all the guard sets, and he grew up, and now he can work inside and out.
Right, and he passes the ball as good as any guard.
And that's how it is. But, like you said, here it's different. If you're tall, you're going to get taught a lot of post moves,
right.
and they get away from that. But, now I think people are realizing that, all skills need to be taught to every position.
To everybody, regardless of your size.
Right.
Now, you also come back, you got done playing, you come back and you did some personal training.
Yeah, I did. I actually coached a youth program down in Atlanta at a Parks and Rec, which is Gresham Parks and Rec down there in DeKalb County. Taught 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds. So just to give back to the, is great. I also trained Josh Howard, who is now a free agent, and looks like he'll be picked up by a couple of teams or want to get picked up by a couple of teams. But, training is important. The skill level from what I was taught from Mr. Baycoat and what I see on TV is, to me, my personal opinion is like is either going to the hole to try to dunk or finish or crossing somebody up. But the mid-range game and working on fundamentals that way is kind of lost. But, we try to get to that point.
Do you still play?
I do. I still play, and I play in the law enforcement league down in Atlanta. We actually travel and go to different tournaments and stuff, so I do play.
When did you find out that, okay, I can play at the next level? When did it just hit you? Because I had Jerry Holmes in here, and the day he played against Lynn Swan and shut him down, he says, I can play at this level.
Actually, it goes back to when I was in high school. Boo Williams was able to get me into the Nike camp when only they invited the top 100 players. And when they invited me, I actually came in and I finished in the top 40 All-Star game, and I felt like that I could have been in the one that was on TV, but that's what got me started right there. I was able to play against guys who were in the top.
You the confidence.
It gave me the confidence, and from that point on, I went forward.
Right. All right. Now you're in law enforcement. You work probation down in Atlanta. We're going to wrap this thing up because I want you to talk about how athletics and the discipline and all that you learned from your dad, from the military, how has that helped you in your job?
It helps me a lot. In athletics, I was a point guard, and you definitely have to be a leader. So in law enforcement, you're always talking to people, make sure that you're willing to help them, and we know that you made some mistakes, but there's always can be change, and just have the discipline and change and go in the right direction is always definitely a key in your work ethics. You definitely got to work hard at it. Nothing is easy. So you always have to work hard at everything you do.
I appreciate you coming in.
No problem.
I want to thank you for tuning in to LSC and Sports Time. I want to thank my special guest, Tony Rutland. I'm your host, Bob Hintz. Till next time.